Hey there folks, I'm just doing an audio review response, make of it what you will, and it's a review that's coming from GeekyTyrant.com, and it's one of the first American reviews of Thunderbirds Are Go, and the reviewer in question is a person by the name of Miley Dunbar. I'm not sure if that's male or female, so I shall just refer to that person as they or them, because I don't want to go ruffling any feathers and, make assumptions, deductions. You get the idea. From the basis of what I'm reading from this review, which I found on a forum on Facebook, the person has basically realized what we've essentially realized over here when it was first shown in the UK this time last year, is that this show is enjoyable for all ages, from those that saw Thunderbirds the first time round in the 60s to those that saw the rerun era in the early 90s, and then by extension when it was rescreened in 2000, and to now, the people are watching this generation. I find it is really good when a show that is aimed at kids aged 6 to 11 years young actually far exceeds its demographic when the whole family can enjoy it, because you spot these little nods, winks, homages to what has gone before. Like, for example, in the final episode, I think something like Legacy, when KO says activate WASP, World Area Security Protocols, like, we know that's a nod to Stingray. Or how Heist Society was a nod to the perils of Lady Penelope. Or how the magnetic generator, which was the Houseman device, which is like, Eddie Houseman, very well done. The references, provided you know what you're looking for, is like, okay, that's good. Whereas otherwise, it flies over the top of your head, and it's not references that are just like, well, today on Thunderbirds Are Go, we're going for the Spectrum City. The Spectrum City is like, yeah, you're just shoving in our face for the sake of shoving in our face. Although Spectrum City sounds like an interesting series for, I don't know, maybe a futuristic superhero show or something for, anime, Today in Spectrum City. That would be kind of fun, actually. But the fact that over in the US, people are getting their first taste of Thunderbirds Are Go, and they love it, that's a clear indication that this show is going to be a worldwide success. I mean, it's already doing very well in Japan, from what I've seen of this TV promotion of these two actors going in an elevator and coming out to this, I think it's a Toyota Prius that they're going into, and they even have the palm trees pulled back to allow the car to burst out, and even have light lens flare as Thunderbird 2's vapor trail, which I thought, okay, that's really good attention to detail. But again, we finished up with season 1 back in January, and now we're just awaiting season 2. And America, Canada, they're just going to start just about catching up with us, and we still got the second season to come. It's really pleasing when an English show like Doctor Who, as an example, when it came back as a reboot in 2004, when it started out with Chris Eccleston before passing on to David Tennant. My personal favourite Doctor. I mean, he's just a the British equivalent of Jim Carrey, which is a nod to both of them because I think they're both brilliantly talented actors. And starting out with Billy Piper, and of course then you get Sherlock, which I don't think anybody saw that being as successful as it has become, because when you make a show that's only 3 episodes per season, because there's less of it, you make more demand for it. And Benedict Cumberbatch is, to me, a perfect incarnation of Sherlock. I've not seen Johnny Lee Miller as Sherlock in the US equivalent Elementary, so I'm not going to narc, praise, or be indifferent. I'm just not going to give any thoughts because I haven't seen enough to have a validated opinion. For all I know, he could be absolutely amazing, but again, I'm not going to give an opinion because I don't judge what I don't see. Very harsh lesson learned. Long story, don't want to get into it. And Thunderbirds, there was always that doubt when it was announced 3 years before it was coming back in the run up to its 50th anniversary, because the perception I got when they made the announcement that it was going to come back for 2015 is like, oh, they're doing this as a love letter to the, because of the fact it was the 50th anniversary of the original series. And in some way, it is a very nice love letter, not only to the franchise, but to the fans that have enjoyed it for so many generations. And this is something that I think Random DCE said in regards to, I think it was a conversation he had with a friend. I'm not going to go say who. And I think the context was somebody was narking on him for saying, how can you support this reboot for Thunderbirds out of all these other reboots? And I think his response was just absolutely on point and apt. Quote, "It's been 50 years. They've waited long enough." And I agree. And as far as things go, I do not validate Thunderbirds 2004 because visual effects wise, now this is something that people need to understand. Visual effects and special effects are two completely different things. Special effects are things like pyros, if it's a miniature or something that happens off of camera, whereas a visual effect is something that is done in post-production. And I'll give you an example. Iron Man being suited up, the first Iron Man movie, that's visual, that's post-production. The Tyrannosaurus Rex escaping the paddock in the first Jurassic Park movie, which, by the way, that movie, those visual effects are still awesome even to this day. That's post-production. That's something that's, something that the actors have to use their imagination for because it's not there yet. And the visual effects for Thunderbirds, they were amazing in that movie. It's one of the few things I will give praise for that. But that's another story for another time, which I've gone on record for far too often. So, they waited long enough for that reboot. To be honest with you, they could have done an animated reboot in the 90s, if they so wanted to. But the way that the original series was, it was well ahead of its time, and when it came back in 91, that was a TV show that was 26 years young at the time, and it bowled people over. It's like this is from the 60s. This is still good. And the basic concept of Thunderbirds, and by extension International Rescue, the basic DNA has not been tampered with. they're still to go out and save lives. They're not pandering to any particular demographic. This is the mistake that they made with the 2004 movie, because they pandered to the Spy Kids crowd, when what they really should have done is made a Thunderbirds movie with all of the Tracys, all the Tracy brothers getting involved. Instead, they made it, like the Gary Stu kids who have had little to no experience piloting the craft, going and doing a rescue mission. People are getting kind of sick of that. Whereas with this one, alright, the characters are a little bit younger than what they were in the original series, but I suppose to some degree, to child audiences of today, or should I say younger audiences of today, it makes them somewhat relatable to them. It's to some degree, because to this day I still see nothing wrong with the ages that the characters were in the original series, because most of them were in their early to mid 20s. Now it depends on which source you follow, because there's so many different variations of what ages the characters are. I mean, Scott is still the eldest, but it varies in terms of which content, in terms of which source that you're tuned into. Some argue he's 30, some say he's 26, some say he's 27. Your mileage may vary, but Alan's always the youngest. So, again, make of that what you will. And this is getting long-winded. I shall try and wrap up as quick as. But yeah, I will leave a link in the description below. And, if you're following this on dynamicnight.com, my Facebook page, or if you're following this on YTub, leave your comments in the comment section below. Share this around on the book, Twitter, the Tumblr. Let me know what you think about the review that has been done by GeekyTyrant.com, because the fact that people in America are actually loving this, that's a clear indication that this is another win. This is another goal for England. This is another touchdown. This is another home run. It's very pleasing when something is originally created. Now, I grant that this show is not completely created in England. I mean, the voice cast, the voice recording's done in England, but then you get all the miniature shots done in New Zealand with Weta Workshop, and then you get Milk VFX coming in to do all the visual effects, and apparently a lot of the scripts are actually written in Los Angeles, with Rob Hoagie being the main writer, and Peter Briggs, whenever he's written episodes, which I will state, Heist Society is arguably one of the best episodes of the series. And Peter, I really hope you do write some more, because that was, like I just said, that was one of the best episodes of the series. And it's nice when pretty much the whole team comes together, and comes together like a well-oiled unit. And I'm hoping the success, it in the States, really does take off, because Thunderbirds is something special. It's a timeless concept. It's a timeless franchise, because by extension, you get people in America discovering that this generation's version of Thunderbirds. They'll then look up on Wikipedia saying this is a reboot of the original series, and then they'll go to the original series and it's like, this is actually kind of cool, So yeah, long-winded article, but you all know I'm all about that these days. So yeah, very pleased with what I've read, and let me know what you think about in the comment section. See you next mission.